Sound check. Right. So we have our cylinder head back from the machine shop. I had the machine the bottom because it was out of spec. Everything's been cleaned up. I finished lapping all the valves, and now I'm going to get everything installed in place to test the valve seats to see if anything is leaking. So important things to consider and to know. One, the valve seats and retainers and springs are all universal. There's no exhaust or intake side. Same thing with the retainer, the little clips, the cotters. But there is a direction. Springs have a little color on one side of them, and that is to go down. I have all of my seats and retainers. They've just been sitting in cups with motor oil in them to keep them from rusting. So I'm just going to take the seats, give them a small wipe with a paper towel, and plop them down. So I have my valve stem seals here. And if you look up online valve stem seals for different applications, you'll find they're usually different colors or identified in some way for exhaust or intake. The reason for that is normally the exhaust valves get a lot hotter because exhaust is hotter and it touches more of the valve, so they make them out of a different material. But Velcro valve seals are universal because they make them all out of the high temperature version. No problems there. I've got some oil here. I'm just going to take a paper towel, I'll dip it in the oil, get it nice and moist, and then I'm going to make sure that the valve stems are thoroughly lubricated. When we install the valve seals, they don't bind and get damaged. Velcro gives these little plastic tubes to help prevent damage to the seal, so I'm gonna give that a shot. See what happens. We'll start with this one, put the seal on, get it down. I'm gonna move these out of the way. What I've got here is a 10mm socket to fit right over the seal, nice and snug, and I'm just gonna give it a good push. Check that it's all the way on there, which it looks like it is. And then we'll just repeat the process for the rest of them. And we're going to check the movement of the valves, make sure they all slide pretty well. I've got towels under here right now to keep them from falling out. That's why they're not going all the way in. It's time for valve springs. Then the retainer. All right, back with my little stand. Let's get cracking on this.
So what you need to do here is compress the springs down far enough so that the top of the valve that has the notches in it is well enough past the top retainer that you can get the keepers into it. And you can see in the image here how everything kind of sits together. And the keepers have this little groove that sits, or rather this little ridge that sits in the groove at the top of the valve.
All right, and that is all the intake valves installed, and next we will do the exhaust valves. all valves, seals, retainers, seats, and cotters, and springs, and everything is in. So, in order to test if the cylinders are sealed, all right, first we need to clean up some of this mess. Okay, so put some spark plugs in. We're going to fill the chambers with denatured alcohol, and we will test for leaks. Get this more level. So why use alcohol? Well, when it's gone, it will just evaporate away and it won't have any effect on oil or coolant.
Future Vinny here. A keen-eyed among you might notice that there are some leaks present. As you can see, some of the liquid dripping out, some of the ports as we're looking at the intake side of here. I did address that. I took everything back apart and I relapped the valves, and then I tested everything again and came up with absolutely no leaks. I didn't record any of that footage because it took me a few to do it and it's kind of unnecessary. The point here is that you test and then you repeat the process each and every time until you get it down. If I would have done this over again and had this knowledge, I would have gone back and used a different tool, which you will see here. This one makes this job a lot easier, especially on the K series heads, so you can quickly do the valves over and over again. And I would have done each cylinder one at a time rather than all intake and all exhaust. So something to keep in mind for the future if you're going to do this for yourself. Now onto the block.
Now that the block's all cleaned up and ready for honing, I'm gonna check all the bores with a dial bore gauge. We have our dial bore gauge set. I've set my calipers to 3.4260 inches, which is somewhere right in the middle of a new spec. Then I zeroed out my gauge. I'm gonna measure the bores out. I've already done the first three. I'll do the last one. So the way this works is there's like a spring-loaded thing here. It's called an anvil. And so you set this in your caliper, then you zero it out, and then you use it to measure in here. It's got these little wheels that help you rock it back and forth, and I'll show you how that works. So these pistons, these cylinders rather, are supposed to be measured 6 mils from the top, 6 mils from the bottom, and then in the middle of the cylinder along the X and the Y axis. So we're gonna set it at the top here, push it in, get a level, and all you do, it's pretty simple. Since it's got the two wheels on the side, it kind of self-centers in whichever place you have it in. So all you have to do is rock it back and forth until you get the crossover. So where the number goes one way and then it goes back the other way. So I'm getting 1/1000th of an inch. So what that means is that based on my measurement I set in the caliper, that the top of this piston is 1/1000th of an inch larger than that measurement. And then I will repeat the same thing in the center of the cylinder. And that crossover looks like 5/10,000ths, which is awesome. And I haven't honed yet, so I'm measuring before I hone to know if I take too much off or not. All right, and then the bottom of the piston, or bottom of the cylinder, we're getting 0. No? Looks like we're getting 5, nope, looks like 0. Which is good enough for me. All right, so then we will push this out, rotate it the other direction, and we will repeat the process. Also getting 0 on this one. That's the center of the cylinder. Also 0. And up at the top. Looks like we're getting 1,000th larger. Or sorry, smaller. Which means that it's a little bit skinnier at the top than the spec. So if I plug those in, do some quick math here, and I'll be right back. All right, the largest measurement is 3.427, so 1,000th over my measurement, and the service limit is 3.4279, so we're 9/10,000ths at the largest point. So that's the top of this cylinder. So it's pretty much the top of all the cylinders, and then, which is actually okay. It's better than having it somewhere else, because the cylinder doesn't go like, the piston doesn't go all the way up. That's why you always get these black rings around the cylinders. And then the center of this piston is a little bit larger, but still within spec. So now it's time to hone. Okay. I honed the first 3 cylinders and took some measurements, so now more square. There was a bit of taper to them out of spec, but now the taper is within spec. This cylinder is a little bit bigger than the others, but it is right at the edge of spec, but it should be fine since we're not doing huge power numbers here. So I'm going to finish up the last cylinder here. So I have the Lyle 1500, and it has these, got an ice cream man in the background there. It's got these 4 bars here. 2 of them are the honing stones and 2 of them are wipers. And what you do with it is you put it in the cylinder bore. Let's get it squared up here. And so it has this large knob which you can pull out, and this will adjust, this will make big adjustments to the stones, and this causes them to push outward like that. So what we do is we back off this top silver nut a bunch of turns. Because this has what they call micrometer adjustment. So we get the stones in here square and as close as we can with the big knob, right? And then what we do is we tighten down this smaller silver knob to push up against the cylinders. So then you can take something to measure with. I have my digital calipers here. These aren't super precise, but I'll get the point across here. Because I don't want to readjust my micrometer because I have it set for my per gauge. So then you measure across the top and bottom portions of the stones, right, to get your bore size that you want. So we are looking for 3.4260 and then a little bit. So right now we're at like 1,000th over that, which I think should be fine. But we're really going to go based on what it looks like. You want to get your drill, put it on your lowest setting, chuck it into the device, nice and strong, and then carefully get it into the cylinder wall or into the cylinder bore. There's actually a formula for how fast you're supposed to do this. It's 1,200 divided by the inches of your bore, and since this is roughly, we're just going to round. This should be about roughly 350 RPM. On the lowest setting on this drill, it does a maximum of 500. So I'm going to not squeeze the trigger all the way, do roughly just a little bit more than halfway, just kind of feel it out. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to move up and down in a rapid motion. And after a little bit, I'm gonna take it out, my flashlight, just do a quick inspection. We're getting some nice cross hatching in it, but I can still see the rust wear. So you can still see how sort of rusty and worn it is, right? But you're seeing some cross hatching going on. I'm going to continue to do that, inspect, just do that over and over again until I get to the finish that I need. Every few passes, I will take the brush that comes with the kit and I will just clean off the stones. Now you can do this dry, or you can do it with some sort of honing oil or PB Blaster, WD-40, something like that. If you're gonna do it, you can just use motor oil too, but you don't have to. It's still pretty dark, so we're not quite there. If we continue to get the same results every time, then we will tighten up the stones just a little bit into the cylinder wall. Just a little turn on the silver knob. So the results aren't going as quick as I want, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this into the cylinder, and I'm just going to take the silver knob, and I'm just going to turn it just a teeny bit. Well, I'll do it. Really fun. Good. I'm giving each cylinder just one more pass, nice and slow. To really set that crosshatch pattern in. Yeah, it looks awesome. Arms are tired. Now that they're honed, got some degreaser. You're just going to get a good amount of cleaner in the cylinders. This is the same one I use for the hot tank, so it's not going to damage the aluminum. Let that soak for a minute. We're going to hit it with some shop towels. Get all that gunk out of there. This. I'll do a last clean with some acetone or brake cleaner for all of this stuff before any assembly takes place. Everything will be, it'll have absolutely nothing on it. And that will be in the next video. Right now we're just doing some cylinder head and block prep in this video. And I think I have every part in that I need to get the long block assembled. Just got the oil pump and everything in today. So I think that's everything we need. Next time you see, we will be doing assembly video. Thanks for watching.